Hi everybody, welcome to Timeform's fourth and final preview of the Cheltenham Festival Gold Cup Day. And we've got a selection from one of our team here. We've got Billy Nash, Phil Turner with us. We've got a selection to say for the Gold Cup as well. But we're going for cracks at two other races on what is understandably a potentially brilliant card. The last 2 days, Thursday, Friday, the field sizes feel more traditional and more normal. Maybe that's going to make punting harder, but we've had a crack anyway. I'm going to start off. I've got the Triumph, get the pain out of the way very early. Now, this may be very foolish because what we've seen throughout the weeks firmly cements the view that the Irish have very much got the power compared to the British counterparts this season. And it's probably been the case for a few seasons now. But I do think Tritonic is a potentially very, very good hurdler, and I'm going to stick with him to strike one back to the home team. Zana here has been very good. He looks a very fluent jumper. He could be exceptional as well. But one thing I would note is this is one division that the British, along with the handicap chase, I think, is one division that the British have still been able to hold their own in the last few seasons. They would have won the race by a wide margin last year had Goshen not fallen. And in Tritonic, we have a horse who, frankly, is a lot better than most flat horses who go jumping nowadays. Significantly better, in fact. He's taken to it very well. He looked on the flat during the summer that he'd be a really good recruit if they switched him that way. And because he's the McNeils, who have a bit of a love affair with the Triumph hurdle, dating back to Walk-On's second and a horse called Mill Chief soon after, I suppose it was always on the cards that they would try and send him hurdling rather than sell him on. So everything's come together. He's been very good in 2 wins, showing different strengths. Found plenty the first time to see off Casalupi at Ascot. And then it was all far more plain sailing to win the Adonis at Kempton. And that turn of foot he showed after the last is something I think will stand him in very good stead, given that conditions have been drying since the first race on the first day. So that's my loser out of the way first. I'll hand over to Billy to tell us what's going to win the Gold Cup.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I'm going to go for Boum again. I think he's going to make it 3 in a row. Only 4 horses have ever done that before. Only 4 horses have won the race more than twice, which it tells you just how difficult it is to do. But I think Boum has got a great chance. He's been campaigned totally with this race in mind for the last couple of years. It's worked well for him. He was good at Tremor again. Again, he didn't have to be. He didn't have any massive horses to beat there, but he did confirm his well-being. And I think the race is just working out nicely for him again. His last 2 wins in the race have come on good to soft ground. He's probably going to get that again tomorrow. And it should work out nicely for him. There'll be plenty of pace in the race. He'll have Frodon, Native River, his own stable companion, Kemboy. All of them like to be forward. And I think last year's race, Paul Townend probably ended up in front a lot sooner than he would have liked. He was in front at least 4 out last year. Hopefully that won't be the case this year. He likes to ride impatiently, creep into the race, and I think he'll be able to do that this time around. I think the drying ground has probably gone against Native River. Also, Royal Pagaille, who's a horse I'd have a lot of time for, but I think all his best form was on heavy ground. So whether he'll cope with it, I don't know. And his biggest danger might well prove to be Absolute Tar, Henry de Bromhead's. Henry's having a fantastic week, and Absolute Tar took the step up to 3 miles really well at Leopardstown the last time. But look, he hasn't done it at 3 1/4 yet, and there have been plenty of horses down through the years who have stayed 3 miles at Leopardstown perfectly well and not got the extra 1/4 of a mile at Cheltenham. So until he goes and does it, we just don't know about him. You can't rule out Champ, but he hasn't contested a Grade 1 over 3 miles in open company. So I still think he has a little bit to prove. And I wouldn't put anybody off Manila Indo at an each-way price. I think, if you fancy Champ, you have to make a case for Manila Indo, who's over double the price. Again, Henry de Bromhead's horses are flying. I expect him to. I think he's a lot better than he showed at Leopardstown the last day. And if he's back to the form he showed in the RSA last year, he's got a squeak. But I just think everything's coming right for Boum again. And hopefully he's going to add his name to a pretty elite group of horses and become a 3-time Gold Cup winner.
Yeah, well, I know Phil, who handicaps our chase, Phil Turner's with us. He's got Boum top rated to win the Gold Cup, but I know also that he's got quite strong feelings that Manila Indo will run very well as well. But his bet is actually in a new race, not as historic as the Gold Cup. And what are you going to go for, Phil?
Yeah, well, look, this year's festival, it's all been about short-priced Irish train favourites, isn't it? And I think one of the warmest is going to be in this. It's the newest race. It'll be the last one of those type of horses, and it's Ellie May of Willie Mullins. He saddles 4 in the race, and look, she just looks tailor-made for this. Sort of, you got names like Magic of Light and Shattered Love, who've both been really good servants, but you think they're going to be vulnerable to the likes of Ellie May, and her main threat probably is going to be one of her stable companions, and that's Cole Reevy, who's claimed some sort of good scalps this season in novice chases, horses who've sort of been fracking the form in recent weeks, including at the festival itself. But she's still got it to do on the racing. She's got to give weight to Ellie May, and I think fundamentally Ellie May is just a slightly better horse. And I think she's got sort of more natural speed should it turn into a tactical affair. And I look at it at the sense that Cole Reevy's kind of making the price for it. Cole Reevy wasn't there. Ellie May will probably be odds on. And look, you don't need a jeweler's eyepiece to find her, but I still think she's a good bet on a final day. As Dan says, there's lots of tricky betting heats, and I don't think this one particularly is. And around 11 to 8, I think she's the way to go.
And I think one thing to note, isn't it, throughout the week before we sign off, horses get form boosts earlier on the Tuesday and Wednesday, and perhaps the market can be a little late reacting to something like that. There was one that served us well last season, wasn't it? Simply the Bets had his form boosted throughout the week. He was top rated to win that handicap on the final day. And that's something to consider, because we're talking ahead of Thursday's racing even. You've obviously got to take a close look how Allaho performs. If he runs really well, that's a nice timely boost for Ellie May as well, who
she's
pushed him so close.
It's not a literal sort of way of looking at it, but I mean, she did finish 12 lengths in front of Black Tears earlier in the season, and she's won earlier in the week, so it's all sort of there, and hopefully she'll be it looks a tailor-made race for her, and hopefully she'll be able to prove as much.
And just one more day then, Billy, before you can stop punching us to oblivion. Well into the 12th round, the British still trying desperately to hold their own, but it's looking inevitable. If we're not going to get knocked out, it's going to be a heavy defeat on points.
I think that's a kind of a foregone conclusion at this stage, Dan. I'd expect the Presbury Cup to be sewn up by the end of today even.
They might as well rename it, I don't know, the Cork Cup, something like that. I mean, it's getting so one-sided nowadays. But I'm sure
if this year's Irish domination spells the end of the Presbury Cup, then that's one good thing to come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I was likening it to, I suppose, if you have a big ranking Hollywood blockbuster, the Irish have got Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Aniston, and the British are just sort of like the extras who get the face in the background in a couple of shots at the moment.
The one who's dying saying, "You go on without me. You go on without me."
Exactly. Well, hopefully, from my point of view, Tritonic can do something for the British on the final day, and that does us for the week. Thanks for joining us and taking the time to listen to our previews throughout the 4 days, and way before that as well. It obviously goes on for a long time, the build up, and then before you know it, it's all over on the 4th day. So best of luck, whether you're with us or against us, and we'll be in touch soon.